everybody, I am back. I am back with the 60,000 word update for No Hope for Yesterday. I have made it to 60,000 words. We are at 60,549 words. Yeah, so it's going along. The plot is plotting at this point. The characters are filling me in on what's going on in their lives. Now, keep in mind, No Hope for Yesterday is very much character driven. It's very much filling in the gap of like a lot has changed in 5 years and we're getting ready to go to war with the society. We had that first attempt in book 1, and obviously because it's the first in a trilogy, you can't win them all. So we had that first attempt in book 1 and we're in book 2, and the OPMRB is getting ready to go up against the society. But in order for that to happen, all of these characters, all of these players need to fall in and need to become established characters and become an established part of this society so that we can have an army, right? An army needs soldiers, and I have to build you an army as the author. So that's what I'm doing in book 2, is we are building the army. So what I want to do is actually, I do want to do a reading for this update because I have a scene that doesn't give away too much that I can read from book 2. The main players in this scene that you need to be aware of: Caleb, who you met in book 1. He is Hezekiah's head guardsman. We meet him the first time we meet Hezekiah. We actually meet him before we meet Hezekiah because he's running around the palace looking for the missing prince. You have Red, who is the main healer at the OPMRB. She has been working with Hezekiah after his capture and then ending up at the OPMRB. I'm not going to go into detail on that because that is a spoiler. And then we have Hezekiah, obviously, and the Reaper gets to come back. You meet the Reaper, Q, in book 1. Q is genderless, mysterious character that just kind of exists. There's no distinct gender markers in this character because they're not a species that has that. So you need to be aware of that. Also, what's happening in this scene is Hezekiah had been up wandering through. Caleb comes to the OPMRB. He wasn't supposed to, but he ends up there. And he and Hezekiah have an argument. And Hezekiah collapses. And they find out he has magic poisoning. Magic poisoning is something that can happen to a magic wielder if they don't use their magic enough. Magic as a living thing does have a mind of its own and does demand to be used. So even low-level spells, kind of constant like training and sparring, that sort of a thing, magic users must use their magic. And if they don't, the magic will start to rebel and it will cause magic poisoning. And when it does, if they don't have a release for the magic, it will kill them. And then the magic will move to the next host. So Hezekiah is suffering magic poisoning. It's why he collapsed. They hadn't figured that out until just now. So I'm going to read you this scene because Caleb gets to interact with the Reaper. And I want you guys to see his reaction because I love Caleb. But what I love more is his ferocity and his loyalty to his prince. So here we go. Caleb swallows. He really hasn't used his magic at all since he's been here? Not even small spells? Not that I'm aware of. Shit, Caleb groans. That he needs to use his magic, Red. Faye, we can't. He stumbles over the words, digging for the right ones. How to explain it? Faye get magic poisoning if we don't use our magic for extended periods of time. If our magic is suppressed or if we just don't use it for whatever reason. Gods, if he hasn't used it in months. Magic poisoning. Red's eyes widen. That I've heard of. Are these marks how it presents in Faye? Caleb nods dumbly. His tongue refuses to form more words as horror sends ice water through his veins. He should have known that immediately. Should have known that when he first saw Hezekiah, first sensed the way the other's magic felt so unlike it usually does. The way his commands had crashed over Caleb like a tsunami instead of pressing into him like a wave upon the shore. The way that power had felt hollow. Red turns to the man with her, saying something Caleb doesn't register. The Fey guard steps close to the bed again, looking down at those dangerous silver marks along Hezekiah's ribs. His magic is humming again under the surface, and he cautiously draws it forward, little tendrils of icy blue swirling around his arms. He doesn't dare touch the prince with his magic, instead just holding it in lazy spirals around his arms as he leans over to study the marks more closely. It's almost immediate, the prince's reaction. As soon as Caleb's face is within a few inches of the marks, much closer than he meant to be, emerald green and burnished gold magic comes to life around Hezekiah's arms, the prince groaning but not regaining consciousness. The gold leaps towards Caleb's blue, seizing it within tight coils of a pattern the guard doesn't recognize, but he can feel the impact. His magic burns along his skin as Caleb yelps, his spine straightening as he nearly falls backwards, stumbling away from Hezekiah. But the prince's magic doesn't relent, following Caleb's as the guard backs away, gold flaring brightly and wrestling the blue tendrils into submission as the prince's magic spreads over Caleb's hands and up his arms to his shoulders, sneaking along his back to his wings. Caleb's wings hit the wall behind him as he continues to backpedal, drawing a different type of yelp from the guard, who now has nowhere left to go. His eyes widen as the gold magic continues to wrap around him, the guard's dark skin growing darker as the magic sears right to his blood. Ice water turns to fire as Caleb presses himself into the wall as though he could go through it with enough willpower. He's vaguely aware of Red's voice and of hands on his arms that vanish as quickly as they appear. His world is consumed by gold. He couldn't focus on anything else if he wanted to. His magic has retreated from him, leaving only Hezekiah's, and it's all-consuming. Caleb's entire body feels both like it's numb and like it's burning as wave after wave of golden magic crashes into him. Caleb. A voice he doesn't recognize pierces the roar in his ears. But it's not one voice. It's a chorus of voices speaking as one. He pries his eyes open. He hadn't realized he'd closed them. But what he's seeing is no longer the room in the healing center. Instead, he stands in the middle of what he can only describe as a blank space. Swirls of color trail in every direction through a pitch-black expanse. And in front of him, Caleb. Q smirks at the Fey guard. The Reaper's eyes are a piercing violet, inky skin swirling with the same colors that are trailing around the two of them. Reaper. Caleb feels the cold set in again, his palms immediately feeling clammy. Yes, I am. What have you done to Hezekiah? He doesn't mean for his voice to carry such an edge, or such power, but he can't help that now. To High Prince Stormfast, you mean? Q's head tilts, amusement shining in its eyes. I have done nothing to him. You, on the other hand. I didn't... Caleb freezes, looking down at the icy blue magic he can see once more around his arms. Did I? Bring active magic within a few inches of a man in the beginning stages of magic poisoning? Yes, you did. A very dangerous choice. Oh, gods. Caleb's dark skin pales, eyes widening. Is he dead? Q's voice lilts, the chorus seeming discordant for a moment. No, that wouldn't do. We very much need High Prince Stormfast alive for our plan to work. Something in Caleb protests, but he's more relieved that Hezekiah is okay. You are playing a dangerous game, you know. Pardon? That amused smirk is still on Q's lips, but there's something in the Reaper's eyes that penetrates to the very core of Caleb's being. It forces the Fey guard to drop his gaze and swallow. Q expands, disobeying direct orders because you were worried about your prince, begging his wife to release you from his command to give you the agency to find him, lying to him about his wife's whereabouts. And do you think he missed the stutter in your heartbeat when you saw him alive and well? I am not your judge, Q interrupts. nor am I your keeper. I will remind you, however, that Hezekiah is mine until such time as his contract is fulfilled, and I do not share, nor do I take kindly to people damaging what is mine. So do me a favor, I'll heal Hezekiah, and I'll even let you stay with him. But you must promise me that you will make sure he holds up his end of our deal. Do I have a choice? Sure, Q shrugs. If I don't stop the magic attacking you pretty soon, you'll die, and so will he. And it will be your fault. Caleb swallows, hard. His eyes search the reapers, but he finds no true emotion there. The violet gaze is hard, jaw set, the face of someone who doesn't know or care about any emotions at all. I agree to your terms. Good. Q steps close, and as they do, it seems to grow. When they are toe-to-toe with Caleb, they are a head taller. I'll be back to check in periodically. I hope you don't make me regret my decision. With that, the Reaper vanishes. Caleb! Hezekiah's voice breaks through. Caleb! Caleb stirs, prying his eyes open for a second time. He's on the ground in the healing center, lying on his right side, his wings pressed against the wall. Apparently, he'd collapsed here at some point as Hezekiah's magic had crashed into him. His mouth feels like cotton, and his words come out far more garbled than he'd like. Hezekiah? Are okay? The prince releases a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, dragging the guard up into his chest. Gods, Caleb, don't scare me like that. Red stands behind Hezekiah's shoulder, staring down at the two of them. Her features twist in a displeased frown. Come on, up off the floor. Can someone get me a gurney? Caleb wraps his arms around his prince. They're heavy and awkward, and the papery fabric of the tunic Hezekiah is wearing rubs against him oddly, but he doesn't mind. He buries his nose into Hezekiah's chest, letting his eyes close again. Thought I'd lost you. Another sigh from Hezekiah. The prince tightens his grip marginally, speaking in their native tongue. You're an idiot, you know that? What were you thinking, Caleb? You could have killed us both. I wasn't thinking, obviously. Caleb can't help it. He laughs, truly laughs at his prince's reactions. Gods, he's missed this. Their banter. They'd gotten so close since he'd been assigned his post as Hezekiah's head guard. Seeing the prince walk away that night, he takes a deep breath, pulling away to look into Hezekiah's eyes. I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. Other than I wanted to help you, and I didn't know how. Active magic next to someone with magic poisoning isn't a good place to start. Hezekiah shifts so he can haul them both to their feet, keeping both hands firmly on Caleb until the man seems steady. It's a wonder you've lasted this long in my employ, Caleb. Caleb has to bite back the whine that threatens in his throat when Hezekiah pulls away from him, hiding it with a small cough to clear his throat. Sorry. Hezekiah rolls his eyes, but there's clear affection in them. When he speaks again, it's in common. Red's going to make you join me in here, I'm sure. Now she has two fae to poke and prod. Red snorts from where she's now holding the rail of a portable bed. Damn right. But I'll let him stay in here with you. I have a feeling if I tried to take him away, he'd just come stand in the corner again. Caleb at least has the wits to look abashed at her statement, wandering over to the portable bed and eyeing it warily. I'm not sure I'll be able to lay on your side, Red commands. I'll need to monitor your vitals after taking a hit like that. I want you laying down for a few hours at least to make sure your body can regulate after dealing with all that magic. It's a miracle you survived. Caleb bites his tongue and does as he's told, but he knows it's not a miracle. Out of the corner of his eye, he swears he sees the Reaper's face, taunting him. No, it's not a miracle at all. So, I hope you enjoyed my little reading. I know this video got long again. I'm going to leave you with that and let you make of it what you will. Hezekiah and Caleb give me Merlin and Arthur vibes from BBC's Merlin. So that's all for tonight, folks. I'll see you next time, where there is no place like tomorrow.